Hills next year, so hopefully you've got a chance to review that. You can refer to Appendix 9A. I've projected for Rolling Hills region next year total budget projection of $7,444,836 in both service and administrative expenditures for all 8 counties. As far as the breakdown between the 7 current Rolling Hills counties, I've projected a budget of $3,999,936 and a total budget target for Woodbury of $3,444,900. So in order to cover the Woodbury budget target, we are requesting a $33.63 per capita, which will contribute $3,445,900, and also a contribution of $1 million in order to meet parity with the ending balance of the 7 counties at the end of fiscal year 20. And we are projecting a total fund balance for all 8 counties within the region of $2,195,591. The current member counties of Rolling Hills will have a lower per capita because at the same time that we are going to be spending down our reserve balances because of Senate File 504 to get closer to the 20% requirement for the region and county balances. We are going to utilize those balances as well as contribute a lower per capita projection. But in subsequent years, I want to point out that all 8 counties will have an equal contribution going forward. So it's just that first year that there's going to be a little bit of a differential there. So before I move on, I was going to break down further some of the things that were changed within the Woodbury County budget for next year. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. The Woodbury County projection includes $322,648 for new core services that we are hoping to develop over the next couple of years. Rolling Hills, the current 7 member counties have contributed $300,000 to that budget, so it gives us a little flexibility there between the 2 amounts. There are some non-core reductions for school-based services. We had in the current budget with Sioux Rivers, there's $490,000 that are being spent on school-based services, and that has been reduced to $257,637 within our Rolling Hills budget. I would like to point out, though, that Siouxland Mental Health Center is going to still be providing services at a higher amount than what we are providing to them next year because they are pursuing billing insurances and Medicaid, so they're going to be receiving about the same amount of service, maybe a little bit less, but yet they are going to be utilizing insurance and Medicaid to meet those expenses versus having it all come from Woodbury County taxpayers and the Rolling Hills region. We also included full funding for the ARC of Woodbury County and Schuster Hall for their requests. So those were the main non-core funding requests that we had to debate over the last several months, and this is what the governance board landed on. Siouxland Mental Health Center has requested an increase in their operational costs for the Crisis Stabilization and Assessment Center. Currently, they're receiving $650,000 from Sioux Rivers, and they have asked for $780,000 for fiscal year 20. And between our regional board, Jeremy Taylor, and Sioux Rivers CEO, as well as 3 of their board members, we were able to negotiate and come to a consensus that we would jointly fund the assessment center for the next year so that you have access to that service for the people that you serve. And so we are going to fund that on a 25% basis, which we are very grateful to Sioux Rivers and agreeing to do that because the highest utilization is for individuals from Woodbury County. So in that negotiation, it decreases the total of asking from $780,000 for Rolling Hills to $585,400, with the remaining coming from Sioux Rivers to meet that request. The Siouxland Mental Health Center had also requested an increase in their Black Granite services for next year from $1,460,000 to $2,033,242.50. I was able to spend some time with the CFO and CEO of Siouxland Mental Health, and after our budget projection discussions and negotiation, we were able to agree to a budget of $1,510,350 for next year, and I think that both parties were very satisfied with the outcome of those decisions. And as far as the Woodbury County staffing levels, I left that the same because After budget is complete, I'm going to spend more time assessing staffing needs for the Woodbury office, and I didn't want to make any changes to that budget figure because it was too preliminary for me to determine if we're going to need all the staff, maybe not all the staff, so we just left that budget target untouched. On the second page of the handout, it's just a breakdown of the entire budget amount for the top couple paragraphs. Just shows the Woodbury County Rolling Hills expenses for next year, and then Woodbury County secondly. So I won't go through that because it's kind of a repeat of what I just shared with you. I'm going to rely on Dennis Butler to come up with an ending balance projection, and as well as a tax levy for mental health next year, because without knowing what you're going to be exiting Sioux Rivers with at the end of this year, I mean, we've got some figures from Sioux Rivers. Aaron Howarding has given us some pretty good numbers, but without knowing a hard number, it's really difficult for me to determine where you should project your levy for next year for mental health. So at this point, I think that covers it. I'd like to open it up for any questions that you may have.
One thing that was brought up was we got a letter from the Sanford Center, I did. One thing on school-based, I mean, they're not able to bill insurance like Siouxland Mental Health.
Right.
And why, I mean, I know why that is, but do you want to describe why that is again?
What they're providing is an outreach program for children, and because they are not providing licensed clinical services, they are not able to bill private insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever that may be. So all of their funding needs to come from other sources. So the region, well, Sioux Rivers region has been funding that 100% since their grant funds ran out. Our board has been very adamant that services that are available in one county, they're available across the region. We currently do not fund school-based services. We stick to the guidelines of the required population groups that we serve, as well as the age requirements. And current statute states that we serve adults 18 of age and older. There is the possibility that the children's system may be thrust upon the regions maybe as early as July 1st, depending on legislation. And if that happens, then we decided it would be better to continue partial funding for those programs versus cutting it all together and having to look at restarting that and having a bunch of startup costs. So that's why the board made the decision that they did.
And I guess there was also a lot of discussion as to whether or not that is a core service versus...
It is not a core service. And so the Scheffler Hall, the Arc of Woodbury County, the school-based services, those were all proposals that had to come before the board in December because they are not non-core currently, or they're non-core, excuse me. So it was discretionary funds.
Okay.
I think it's important to repeat that no core services were cut as a result of this move.
No.
Well, essentially, they were increased.
We increased funding to our largest mental health provider, and perhaps you want to say where that was it 130,000 additional funding to Siouxland Mental Health, where that's going to help.
Are you talking or referring to the building project request?
You mentioned 650 to 780,000.
That was on the crisis
sure.
stabilization
Okay.
center.
Okay.
As far as the 780,000, I did have it budgeted that we would have been able to do that. And as I said, I was very grateful that Sioux Rivers was willing to pick up 197,000 of that funding, so that it frees us up a little bit to be able to invest in more core services going forward.
I said this, I think, in the last meeting, I think it's a good thing. I'm appreciative of Sioux Rivers and Rolling Hills that it seems like for all the heartburn at the end of the day, all parties or counties and regions are where they need to be going forward. And it's actually a surprising but very good thing that we have this agreement and go from there.
Well, I'm certainly encouraged by everything that went on, and I really look forward to working with the region you know, and having our core services funded as a priority first.
Well, and I have been very encouraged too as well. I mean, it kind of goes both ways because I have been out meeting with your providers. I just spent a couple hours over at the Center for Siouxland, totally impressed with what they provide. Tomorrow I'm meeting with Heartland Counseling Services because they provide mobile crisis, which was identified in a strategic planning session that we did earlier in January, and we had several in attendance from Woodbury County at that. And I know that the deputies that attended from Woodbury County are very interested in implementation of a mobile crisis service, so it might be happening sooner than later, depending on the outcome of tomorrow's meeting. So I think we have a lot to gain as well, is what I'm trying to convey.
Sure. I think we have a lot of providers already doing things that maybe you guys need as
Absolutely.
other counties. So I think it'll just make us all stronger.
I think so too.
So it's a great move. And glad to see the first budget come before our board, and with that, I will move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any other discussion on this item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Moving on to B, approval of Rolling Hills Community Services 28E agreement. I'll just go ahead and move it.
Second.
So motion by Raddick, second by Young. And then any discussion on this?
Can I just add? The only thing I was going to point out on the changes to the 28E is you may want to reference, because when you signed the memorandum of understanding, you were agreeing to our 28E as it stood and stands today. So when I have been going out to all of the other counties, I have made sure that they note in their motion or in a separate motion that they accept the changes to the 28E. They are very minor. They were listed here in the appendix. But I think that needs to be conveyed so that you're not signing on to our current 2080 before we file it with the Secretary of State.
Pat, the agreement as presented, is that sufficient?
It's the one that he's going to sign.
Right.
We're all going to sign, looks like.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Don.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming all the way.
absolutely.
All right, moving on to item 10, approval of awarding county farm bid to Bruce Willems. I will move A. A. 10A. I'll move 10A.
They told us where to sign.
Move a motion. All right, motion by Raddick, second by Young. Anyone else have any questions on the farm lease? Bid, I should say. Well, there were two separate ones. Second. They're named, so I guess I signed the right line.
66,137.50 on the first one.
That's for the farm.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to 10B, that's the approval of farm lease contract with Bruce Willems. I will move that.
Second?
That was motion by Raddick, second by everyone else.
You got that one, Dennis?
I'll make it Taylor this time. All right. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. 10C, approval of awarding Breeze Farm bid to Bruce Willems. I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Young. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to 10D, approval of farm lease contract with Bruce Willems. I will move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Young. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 5-0. Or I guess if anyone wants to vote no, you can correct that. Moving on to 11, juvenile detention. Ryan Weber, approval of the 2018 through 2019 food service contract with CBM. Hello.
Diane McDeer, Juvenile Detention. Before you today, we have 2 food contracts. And to give you a little explanation, we ran behind in getting the contract done this year. So the first contract is from August 1st through February 28th of 2019. And that amount will be $567 per meal. And since Ryan has been billed monthly at the old rate, he will be back billed the difference between the original contract's rate. So that is the first contract. The second contract is for March 1st through June 30th of 2019. And this is at the new rate, the new menu, the new contract, and it will be $6.32 per meal.
Where'd Famous Dave's come in at?
I wish.
I'll move it.
All right, motion by Audubon, second by Raddick.
Has this been reviewed by our assistant county attorney?
It has not.
Jeremy, I never submitted
Okay.
to Josh because the contract wording is what the Department of Education tells me they need.
Okay. So it kind of gives you boilerplate language that is a requirement? Okay.
And it covers all of the federal requirements,
all right.
civil rights.
You want to see them?
Hiring, everything.
You got 10 seconds to memorize.
One concern I have, though, is the agenda item doesn't indicate that there's 2 separate contracts here. So I think based on what's on the agenda, we can only approve the new contract, but the one for backwards, we're going to need to put on the agenda.
They are both listed in there as far as backup materials.
Right, but the backup materials aren't part of the actual agenda.
Does the fact that it says 1819, because the back one is for the 2018 part?
They're both an 18-19 contract.
Yeah, it's just split into
just
2 sections.
One at a lower price and the other one at the new menu price.
And if it said contracts, I think we would be okay. But it indicates a singular contract, so.
So the other one takes place March 1st, so we can go ahead and move the first one, and then we'll just throw the next one on next week.
That's the one I need desperately. We can do the back bill.
So the second one's the one you need.
Yes,
So
the
that's-
March 1st through June 30th. That's the one I need.
Okay.
So
That's
we'll
what
just
my
have
motion
Marty
will cover.
Marty's clarified the motion that it is the March 1st.
What was the cause for the delay?
Part of it was preparing the new menu, and we put it out for bid in August, and we were behind when we did it. And I was given a grace period by the state, and then CBM and I played email tag. I would send the menus to them, they'd send them back to me. Then I'd send them on to the state, she would send them back to me. In December, actually in November, I had submitted the finalized menu, all proofread, everything done, sent it back to CBM for them to take the next step, and the dietitian was off for 3 weeks, which delayed us through the end of December. And then I got it back, and I got the first contract from August to February. And after it had gone to their corporate office, and then I got it back, and they didn't have the second one. So then we had another 2-week delay, and here's where we are.
This only runs through,
June 30th.
so are we starting on the next one already?
Well, the best part about in June, all we have to do is reaffirm the contract, and then we go strictly by CPI.
Oh, okay.
And then it'll be a one-year contract for the next 4 years, for a total of 5 years, and then in 5 years, it goes back.
So it's not quarterly increases to the CPI, it's annual increases to CPI after that.
Department of Education
Okay.
tells me what the CPI will be.
Heather, you want this for next week? Okay,
Sorry, didn't have the S on there.
no problem. Not that big a deal. We'll do it the legal way and they'll get it next week. Any other discussion or questions? It's the same thing, isn't it?
No, that's the March one, once it's.
No, it's the same thing that I got in here.
Well,
About CGM and, I mean, going forward with what the jail's using, and I know you guys gave them space, and I don't know, I feel like they're our only option at this point, and I feel like we really haven't been served the way we'd like to be. Instances like this, changing ownership, and guidelines that we have to follow based on school lunch programs and whatnot. I'm out of ideas as far as what our other options could be. We talked about the pharmacy instance last time, what other options we'd have there, and I mean, I just don't know what, we're kind of at a monopoly here, but no other service in town provides anything like we need 24-hour, 7-day-a-week meals, so I don't want to be in a situation where we're getting 10% increases because they know they got us no other options, so if anybody has any ideas going forward on all those lines, I'd be here.
Good luck to find more vendors, but you said they'll be tied to the CPI for the next 4 years.
yeah, so we could, and to give a little bit of back history on the program, we had St. Luke's at one time. St. Luke's no longer does it. Mercy no longer does that type of food service.
Boys and Girls one doesn't do it anymore.
No. There's and I can't remember the name of another food service in town that does the high schools. However, they do not provide the 24/7 that we need, the nights, the weekends. They don't provide that. The schools, we contacted schools and the school program and asked them to take over our meal service. And they won't do it because it's 24/7.
You can't split it.
See,
So the whole 24 hours is covered. Yeah,
You could find us 7-1 to do this weekend.
You'd probably pay a premium then on the weekends and end up a wash.
It would be only CBN that provided on the weekend, since we'd only, at one time, they wanted us to guarantee so many meals, and then.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure they, wouldn't be worth their time and money, because we require, fresh fruits, vegetables, those kinds of things that they definitely don't want to deal with that stuff.
So you can't just order pizza every meal.
We'd have you be the dietitian then.
That's what I ate every day in high school, I think.
There's been
KFC.
other suggestions as Hy-Vee or any
Chips. Who said that?
other food providers, and they're not interested.
Well, seeing where we're at, any other discussion that,
I've already budgeted for this, just to let you know.
okay.
So who's going to make sure the contract's on for next week? Okay.
And then next week, it's going to just say contract too.
Next week.
I don't know if you need to. I mean, I think we've had the discussion, unless you,
you don't need them back next week to discuss the one we've already tried to pass.
Unless you want to say everything you just said. All right, well, no other discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to be on the record that somebody's in my parking spot.
Somebody's in your parking spot? Uh-oh. Is it Mark? Moving on to secondary roads. 12A, approval of completion certificate for hot mix asphalt route and seal 2018.
The work's been completed in compliance with specifications. Recommend approval of the project.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? Motion by Taylor, second by Radding. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to 12B, approval of completion certificate for project LBB82.
The new box culvert's completed and open to traffic. Recommend approval of the completion certificate for the.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Taylor, second by DeWitt. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Moving on to 12C, approval of completion certificate for project LB L78.
Project was done in compliance with the plans and open to traffic. Recommend approval of the completion certificate.
Move it.
Second.
Motion by DeWitt, second by Young. Any further discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Recess Board of Supervisors meeting, convene Bennett, McDonald, Smithland District Trustees meeting. Item 13, approval of quotation for video checking culverts under levee.
Bennett McDonald Smithland is our flood protection district that protects the town of Smithland and about 400 acres of farm ground on the left bank of the river. One of the requirements the Corps of Engineers has had in place since about 2015 is that all of the tiles, culverts, and other conduits that run through the levee be videoed to see if there's any holes or any defects within them. We have been trying literally for the last 5 years to get a contractor to come in and do this work for us. We've contacted plumbers, rotor-rooter type outfits. Not many of them want to stick their fiber optic cameras into some of the holes that we have underneath of the levee. RP Constructors, right here in Dakota Dunes, has expressed a willingness to do that. They've done it on other similar projects. Their product is not only the video as required by the Corps, but they also prepare an engineering report for us. So we'll be able to bring this portion of our non-complying Corps of Engineers levy into compliance with requirements. I believe this needs to be done once every 5 years. This would be levied against the taxpayers in the district.
Just for me to clarify, is that the left side of the river looking up or down river?
Looking downriver, so.
Okay. Just so I know what hat I got on.
I recommend acceptance of the quote and approval to work with RP Constructors.
Move it.
Second.
I'll go Taylor, motion, Potabom, second. Would this be technically a culvertoscopy?
More or less, yes.
Okay.
Without the prep.
See, I got a big word in today, thanks. All right.
Made up though it may be, but that's all right.
You know, Jenna Bush is in town tonight, so in honor of her father, there's my made-up word. All right, any further discussion on this item?
God, I hope not.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. We'll get the work done. They're proposing to move in during February, so we'll be able to send these results to Corps of Engineers pretty quickly. Thank you.
All right, moving on. We're going to adjourn Bennett McDonald Smithland District Trustees meeting, continue Board of Supervisors meeting. Item 14, reports on committee meetings. Jeremy.
Just to let you know, I have an upcoming meeting representing the county as far as wastewater and what kind of role we might play between the cities and the region as far as economic development and so on. So more to come.
All right. Anything else? Matthew.
I resumed the chairmanship of the Wicker Turf Committee.
All right.
Big news was just that a federal grant is held up, and we were the the last in the pipeline, so they couldn't award the entire amount, so none of it was awarded. So there's quite a backlog for housing restorations until that's approved in the near future. More of a backlog than usual.
Rocky?
I don't know if it's much on a committee report, but I got a call from Gene Logan this morning from the Community Action Agency of Siouxland that they applied for tax exempt status for the old bus barn that sits kitty corner from where the old school where they sit now on the corner of Leach and I think it's Fairmont. They acquired that ground and they want to use it. But for whatever reason, the city refused their tax exempt status, and I need to make a call or stop at the city assessor's office to see if there's any appeal or otherwise change their mind on that. Nothing further.
All right. Marty?
No, nothing.
I had a CERTS meeting, Siouxland Regional Transit with Simcoe. We discussed a lot about the new building. Appointed a few members to that building committee from CERTS. There was, I was appointed as well as a supervisor from Plymouth County. So that's the only real major update, and they approved all their audits for the year. Moving on to citizen concerns. See you. Ready to go.
Pat Gill, Woodbury County Auditor. I'm here to talk to you about our annual discussion about wages for elected officials.
All right.
I don't know if you all are aware, but the Compensation Board is going to meet next Monday night, and they'll talk over what those concerns are. I just wanted to raise a concern because Supervisor Taylor mentioned last time during the discussion about wage plan employees getting that 3% and said something to the effect that it's he's okay with discriminating against elected officials. And so that was kind of a signal to me that I need to get up and
So you say you're not okay with that? Okay.
It's a differentiator.
No, it was discriminating. But I just want to talk about where, you know, how this system works. It's not perfect. It's the only one that I know of, and the way that's worked. I've been here a very long time, and I see how it goes all the time. There's a code section that tells those comp board representatives what they should consider, and they don't do that because basically what they look at is they look at where elected officials are with the other counties based on population. That's pretty much the way it goes. And for some reason, and I know that I've talked to you folks every year, I say that the supervisors, I believe that the previous boards and this board does a disservice to board supervisors is because when you look at the ranks among the other counties, you're ranked 43rd. And I always bring up this comment that Ray Burnite made the first year that I was here, and it still applies. He said, you know, Pat, if you get those salaries up there too high, everybody wants this job. And my response was, what's wrong with that? And seriously, that's something that has always bothered me. Right now, the county attorney is ranked 10th. We are 6th population. We are ranked 6th as far as population goes in the state of Iowa. And almost all the counties pretty much adhere to the same thing. There are some that bounce up and down. Supervisors are like that, but the attorney is 10th, the sheriff is 11th, the auditor is 4th, and the treasurer is 5th. And I think it's appropriate where the auditor and recorder are. Several years ago when the county taxpayers voted to merge the auditor and recorder's office, the compensation board met specifically that year in order to consider that change. And I've done a report. I did it after 20 years, and it was a significant savings to taxpayers of Woodbury County as a result of that vote that they did. And it works very well in Woodbury County. So we're ranked 4th and 5th. And what I've told my representative is that I said that based on 3% is because that's what the wage plan employees received. And I know Matthew and I have talked about this often. It's awful nice to say, well, you're doing it for your deputies, but honestly, that's the fact. Is that our deputies that work very hard, and I know there was something talked about performance-based. The 3 deputies that I have are very hard-working individuals. It runs smooth. We have a very well-run ship. Michelle's took on an additional task this year of heading up the conversion of our software program. That's no small thing. And when the rest of it, she works right alongside Dennis Butler here, and when those folks are going to get a 3% raise, it's awful tough to tell those folks that they're not going to be considered in the same realm of those things. And I know that I acknowledge what Matthew and I have talked about before, but that is where we're at. That's the way that it works. And so I just wanted to bring that up. And it was also one of the things that occurred last year is you folks had 2 new representatives on that compensation board. And there was a lot of confusion among them about what their duties were and what the input was from the board. So I know there's some boards previously, some members have been resistant to talk to those, but to their representatives, I think that's wrong. I believe that each and every one of you should contact your representatives and talk to them and give them input about what you think you see on the horizon, because I think it's a legitimate thing to do. They are your representatives. You have appointed them, and I think that it's a disservice if you do not talk to them, because they don't really have a clue as to what's going on or what's expected of them. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. And I think, maybe we should make a motion that Pat owes her a steak dinner after this Tyler conversion is done.